You know, it's funny how sometimes the smallest journeys end up teaching us the biggest lessons. Today, we're diving into this really charming story about an 8-year-old girl's very first solo bus ride. And trust me, it's an adventure that starts with just a simple wish, but ends up giving her this profound glimpse into the great big world out there.
So let's meet Valli. She's 8 years old, and her entire world, for the most part, is framed by this very doorway. She doesn't have any playmates her age on her street, so her favorite thing to do, her best pastime, is to just stand right here and watch the endless parade of life go by. And for Valli, this is every bit as exciting as any game you could imagine.
I want you to think about this for a second. What was the first journey you ever took completely on your own? Remember that feeling? That first real taste of independence? That thrill of being totally in charge of your own adventure? That's the feeling that's right at the heart of Valli's story. It's about that leap from the familiar into the great unknown all by yourself.
All right, so where does this whole grand adventure even begin? Well, it's not with a bang, but with a rumble. It all kicks off with the one thing she sees from her doorway that just completely captivates her more than anything else.
Yeah, it was the bus. Every single hour, just like clockwork, this bus would travel between her village and the nearest town, right down her street. And to her, it was this incredible, rolling spectacle. A total vessel of mystery. I mean, every time it passed, it was filled with a completely new set of faces, a whole new collection of stories. For Valli, watching this was a source of just, well, unending joy.
And here's what's so cool about this. It starts as just a simple curiosity, right? This tiny little wish to ride that bus, just one time. But then it starts to grow, and day after day, it gets stronger and stronger, until it's not just a wish anymore. It's become this all-consuming goal, an overwhelming desire that she just has to fulfill. But here's the thing about Valli. She is not just a dreamer. Oh no, she's a planner. This wasn't going to be some spur-of-the-moment decision. This was a mission, and it was going to require some very careful, very deliberate preparation.
So, she basically approaches this whole thing like a master strategist. First, she's got to gather her intel. She starts listening, really listening, to the conversations between her neighbors and the people who ride the bus all the time. She even starts asking a few, discreet questions here and there, slowly piecing together every single detail she needs. Okay, first key piece of data she gets, 45 minutes. That's how long the trip to town takes, one way. Now, this is absolutely critical for her timing because she has to make the entire round trip during that window of time when her mother is taking her daily afternoon nap.
And then we get to the biggest hurdle of all, the money. The fare is 30 paise one way, which means 60 paise for a round trip. Now, to some people, that might seem like almost nothing at all. But for Valli, who almost never handled any money, 60 paise, well, that was an absolute fortune, and she was going to have to save every bit of it.
And this just goes to show you how incredibly determined she was. She saved every single stray coin she could get her hands on, and that meant resisting all kinds of temptations, peppermints, toys, balloons, you name it. The ultimate test, though, the village fair. She had the money, but she forced herself to say no to riding the merry-go-round. Her goal was just so much bigger. So, the plan is in place, the funds are secured, and finally, the day arrives. On one beautiful spring afternoon, while her mom is asleep, Valli slips out of the house. And when she steps across that threshold, she's not just leaving her home, she's stepping out of her entire world to finally begin her journey.
And let me tell you, she doesn't start timidly at all. As the bus is pulling away, she shouts, "Stop the bus! Stop the bus!" Her tiny hand raised commandingly. The conductor, trying to be nice, offers her a hand to help her up, but she just brushes him off. "I can get on by myself," she tells him. Right from the start, she's making it clear she's not just some kid asking for a ride, she's a traveler on a mission.
Now, the conductor, he's a pretty jolly guy, fond of joking around, and he is immediately amused by this tiny, super serious girl. He sees her trying to act all grown up, and so he playfully gives her a nickname that's going to stick with her for the whole trip, Madam.
And it's not just him. The other passengers on the bus, they're all just as amused. They're all looking at Valli and laughing along with the conductor. To them, she's this adorable little spectacle, a kid playing grown-up. They don't see real independence, they just see a charming performance.
But Valli is not playing, not one bit. She shoots the conductor an angry look and tells him straight up, "I am not a madam, please remember that." She's not some character in their little game. She is a paying customer, a real traveler, and she demands to be taken seriously. She even has to remind him that he still hasn't given her the ticket.
And this right here is the central conflict of her whole journey, this little battle of wills. In her mind, she's an equal. I've paid my 30 paise like everyone else, she thinks. But in their view, the adult world's view, well, they're wondering how a mere girl could possibly be traveling to the city all by herself. So her entire trip is this constant, quiet fight to make them see her the way she sees herself.
All right, so with all that social stuff kind of settled for the moment, the real magic of the journey can begin. For the very first time in her life, Valli is seeing the world beyond her little street, and you better believe she is determined not to miss a single thing.
She literally devoured everything with her eyes. First, the bus itself was a total wonder. It was new, gleaming white with these cool green stripes, and the overhead bars shone like silver. The seats were so soft and luxurious. But then, a canvas blind gets in her way, blocking her view. So what does she do? She stands right up on the seat so she can see. And what she sees? It's just breathtaking. A canal, palm trees, mountains in the distance, and just acres and acres of green fields. Green, 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 as far as her eyes could see.
But amidst all this amazing scenery, there's one moment that stands out above all the rest. A moment of such pure, simple joy that Valli suddenly claps her hands with absolute glee.
What does she see? It's a young cow, its tail high up in the air, running for its life, right in the middle of the road, right in front of the bus. The driver keeps honking the horn, but the more he honks, the more frightened the animal gets, and the faster it gallops. To Valli, this is hilarious. This chaotic, vibrant, funny scene is the absolute highlight of her adventure. This is life, just wild and free.
So eventually, the bus pulls into town. It's finally reached its destination. And it's right here that Valli's journey takes a pretty significant turn. It starts to pivot from just a fun adventure into something, well, something much deeper. The bus stops, and everybody starts to get off. Everybody, that is, except Valli. The conductor asks her, "Aren't you ready to get off?" But she just shakes her head and says no. She hands him another 30 paises for the ride back. You see, she never wanted to explore the town. Her goal, the whole point of that overwhelming desire, wasn't the destination. It was the journey itself.
And this is really where we begin to see the story's true purpose. The author frames it perfectly. A first journey out into the world is often an induction into the mystery of life and death. Think about it. The trip to town was filled with all that life and joy, like the running cow. But the return journey? Well, that is about to teach her a profound lesson that she is not expecting at all.
So Valli set out just to ride a bus, but she found herself on the verge of understanding the entire world in a brand new way. And that kind of leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? When was a time that a simple experience, something that seems small, unexpectedly taught you a profound lesson about one of life's bigger truths?